Okay.
So we have the pleasure to host here at the conference Andriy Waskowycz. I hope to pronounce your surname almost correctly.
Yes.
Who is the president of Caritas Ukraine.
Yeah.
Can you just briefly tell us something about your background and the background of your association? What are the conditions that Caritas is facing at the moment?
Yes, I mean, my background, I'm a trained journalist, and about 12 years ago I started to work with Caritas in Ukraine. Before that I was a journalist in Ukraine, and I stopped to be a journalist because I didn't like what happened politically and socially in Ukraine. I didn't like the developments then. And so I was very happy that a friend of mine who was chairing Caritas Ukraine asked me to work with him, to advise him in certain fields, and to especially develop some publications for him about Caritas. And I came closer and closer to this work, and it was for me interesting because it was the way how you from the grassroots level can have an impact on society. And when this friend, the former president of Caritas Ukraine, left the country because he was from Canada, he asked me whether I would like to chair Caritas Ukraine, and I agreed because I thought it is a very interesting work where you have an impact on the social situation.
I suppose that it's not only a work, but it's a daily challenge.
It is absolutely, especially in Ukraine, it's a daily challenge because the social situation is very complicated, and the state social protection system do not work. After the fall of the Soviet Union, there came the old system break up, and a new system that was not built. And we are still 20 years, more than 20 years after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, we are still in this position that the social system is not in place.
I had the pleasure to assist to the workshop where you were speaking, and while you were giving your speech, I was thinking about the role of the state and the role of civil society's organization, because according to what you have just described, if the state is unable to provide public services, then there are organizations like yours, civil societies, organizations, NGOs, that are delivering services that are key or crucial, sometimes daily necessities for the people. How do you see this complementarity, how this relationship? I mean, do you feel that you are doing something that the state should do? And do you feel that your presence is undermining, possibly, the state from doing something in that field?
I think there's a very interesting situation in Ukraine now, and it's a crucial situation for the development of the social field. We have a situation where the state still has the monopoly on the social sphere. Actually, the state is not accepting that anybody else is taking care, giving social services in Ukraine. And especially you can give the services, but you will not be supported by the state. So what we have now, we have a situation where we have to demonopolize the social sphere from the influence of the state. And we have to build up a civil society which can give the social services, but is supported by the state. Actually, what we have and have to have in Ukraine is the system of the concept of subsidiarity, where civil organizations, civil society is giving and NGOs are giving social services, but the state is financing them, and that's a very important thing.
How do you see the difference between services provided by NGOs or social entrepreneurs? Is there a big difference? Is something that can coexist?
I know this problem actually from Western Europe or from countries of the European Union. In Ukraine, this situation does not exist. We don't have social entrepreneurs by now who are giving social services in Ukraine. This has to do, there is no demand for such services, or rather, there is no potential customer for these services. People don't have the money to pay for social services, and that's a big problem, because even if the state has the monopoly of social services, they deliver bad services. They are not, the people who are delivering the services are not paid well, and so actually the people are living without these services.
So if we have to rely to social organizations for social services, to civil society organizations, it means that we need a very active citizenship, a sort of self-management of the people in this matter. Is that what you're advising for?
Partly, yes. There's another need. There's a need for a framework how when civil society organizations can work in the field and deliver social services. This is not done in Ukraine by now. My organization is developed in the last years, actually in the last decade, a very good system of home care system where we give assistance to the elderly people. But all this is done with donations from abroad, with project money from abroad, and the state is not supporting this system.
Very last thing. If you are to choose one thing or two things that could help your work in the field, what would you like to be implemented from the top down?
Yeah, I would like to be implemented in Ukraine actually the concept of subsidiarity, so that people can give services from the bottom in the lowest level, but the state and the communities are supporting them in doing so.
Many thanks, Andriy, and good luck for your work.
Okay, thank you.